Hey everybody, sorry for any technical delays. We are here, y'all. We are live after episode 7. Y'all hit us up in the comments because I know y'all saw that ending, that pose, right? So let us know what you're thinking. But it's House of Dragons, y'all. Hashtag dragons. So get your comments in, let us know. Hopefully, guys enjoyed this episode. We only got one more to go. And I'm here with Jamie. I'm here with Angelica. We're about to drive in. We're about to have a good time. But first, before we talk about tweets and all that other kind of stuff we want to get into, there was one scene or one kind of moment we want to talk about from last episode because y'all know these recaps be bit and it be crazy. So sometimes we miss a couple of things that we want to go back to. So Angelica, take it away.
All right, thanks, Ryan. Yeah, so last week, the episode was entitled Small Folk, and we missed the small folk scene. So I wanted to back up and talk about what happened last week. So Alicent and Helena went to the sept to light a candle for Aegon. And as you know, the small folk are hungry, they're angry, and they're locked in. So on the way out, from basically going to church, they get attacked by the mob of small folk. It goes down. Someone's arm gets chopped off. They start throwing fish and rotten food at them. It was all over the place. So the Kingsguard ended up ushering everyone, Helena and Alicent, into their wheelhouse and getting them safely back to the Red Keep. So this is the first time we've seen the small folk turn on the Greens, which we know is good news for Rhaenyra. So we just wanted to touch on that scene. That kind of gives us the trajectory for this week. Small folk, the lowborn, do matter.
Yep.
So let's
hashtag
dive into
small folk.
Hashtag small folk. That's the team Jamie's on. So her people
play a
coming
very
up.
small yet mighty role. Yes, they do.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So this episode, we've been live tweeting. I'm currently going through our timeline right now. Everybody was pretty much in agreement. That opening sequence with Cyrax and Rhaenyra and Adam with Seasmoke on the beach, it was a face off. It was meet me at the Golden Corral, or what was it? Meet me outside at noon, that type of thing. High noon. Rhaenyra's not playing no games. All right. She needs to figure out who this dragon rider is and what side is this dragon rider on, and if she needs to take this dragon rider out. But thankfully, our boy Adam of Hall immediately bends the knee. He tells her, look, I didn't want this dragon. This dragon claimed me. All right. And I pledge my loyalty to you, the true queen. And for once, Rhaenyra's plans work out. She was like, what? So you mean to tell me my theory about Targaryen heritage is true? Now, what I will say is Adam does not cop to the fact that he is a Velaryon bastard. He says he serves the Velaryon. He says he's a shipwright. He says, I didn't know my mother. I mean, I know my mother. I'm not even going to mention my dad. He's of no importance. So who knows how that's going to work out if and when it's revealed who his true father is. But that opening sequence was amazing. So I'll turn it over to you guys for your thoughts.
Yeah, it was amazing. I just love, like you said, how they came in. They was ready to go to battle. She was like, I'm tired of this. Y'all got one already. Who's coming up in here taking my dragons? But yeah, I like how he was like, wait a minute, I wasn't trying to do it. He came and found me, and she's like, oh, okay, well, you saying this might work. But then I like how he kind of like, it's not like he exactly lied, but he's not really telling everything. So it's gonna be interesting to see, like, whatever that comes out.
Yeah, lying by omission.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah, Jamie, any thoughts on that opening scene?
Yeah, it was just a great scene to look at cinematically. Like, I thought there was going to be maybe a battle between Cyrax and Seasmoke. That would have been kind of cool to see, just to see the background of the beach and like what was to come with Rhaenyra and Adam and where his headspace was, because he really doesn't know what's going on. And neither does she. So she's like, okay, well, where does he stand on this? And he is a threat because he has a very powerful dragon. So she doesn't know that he could potentially be an antagonist to her. So that was a really great scene to watch unfold. Obviously, it ended up being in her favor. Adam wants to serve her, and I'm glad that he is Team Black,
Yes.
as he should be.
And he's black. I know. Oh, Jamie, you froze.
To those memes later.
We can hear you. We can hear you. There you go.
Oh, we're good now. We're good now. Continue.
We're live. We usually record these shows, so it might be a little different this time around. But yeah, so Seasmoke, we're repping, and I was very happy for this scene and how everything turned out. So it was a great moment, great opening. I absolutely loved every bit of it.
Yeah, agreed. And I love how Adam's like, and show me the ways of the dragon rider. Like, that's all I want to do. I just want to get on something cool and ride around and learn your ways. So, I'm sure it was a relief for Rhaenyra to have someone just so enthusiastically on her side for once, right? Because usually they're all like grumbling and giving her, crap. So it was a good scene. So we're gonna move on. Oh, and then I love the part when she says to him, "You think you can fly him back to Dragonstone?" And he's like, I think I can handle that, because that's his first flight. So I don't know, it was pretty cool. So we're gonna go over to King's Landing, just across the bay, and Alicent is pretty much talking to Master Orwell. His name always gets me. About it's just a tongue twister about being fired, essentially. I think he's like attending to like a wound or something on her hand. I didn't catch how she got it, but they're just kind of talking about her dismissal, and she seems to be very tired. So after meeting with the Maester, she goes outside her chambers and she meets with Sir Rickard Thorne of the King's Guard. He's played by Vincent Regan, and she's like, I just want you to take me outside, like just take me outside the Red Keep. Let's go to the Kingswood. And he's like, all right, let's get your servants. Let's get your party. She's like, no, just you. Our good sis is ready to go glamping. She's over it. So I thought that was which reminded me, if we go back to season 1 of the original Game of Thrones series, when things got hard, what did King Robert do? He would run off to the Kingswood. So I don't know if this is a callback to that, but Alicent's she's going to go glamping. So yeah, that was that brief scene. And then we end up seeing Larry's. He's overlooking the courtyard. 2 Kingsguard, Aegon's frat boys, are dismissed and stripped of their titles because they either incited or did not help when it came to the small folk riot. So their cloaks are taken from them and they're turned over to the Night's Watch. So they get to keep their heads, at least. Sir Jasper also is reporting to Larry's about the fact that Seasmoke has a new rider, but no one knows who it is. And Rhaena's name is actually brought up in this scene because, according to these people, to the Greens, they have no idea about Rhaenyra's plan regarding someone having a little bit of dragon blood in them could then allow them to become a rider. So as far as they're concerned, only Targaryen royals can ride a dragon. So the pool is much smaller. So they mentioned Rhaena and how when she was 14, she tried to claim Seasmoke and almost died. So they're trying to figure it out. And then Larry's just like, so where did you hear this from? And he's like, oh, my sister's uncle's cousin's nephew, who's a fisherman on the shoreline, heard that his brother saw it. So Larry's is like, okay, if you want to give that whisper to the king, that's on you, but I'm going to keep it to myself. Because if Larry knows one thing is the importance of a whisper or a rumor that actually has some truth to it. And as it stands now, it's too much of a game of telephone for him to give this to Aemond. So he just says, that's all you, if you want to tell him. So I'll stop there for your thoughts on those 2 scenes.
Yeah, I like that, how you broke that down too about Larry's, but I was also wondering if he did it on purpose. Like trying not to give him like not really trying to suss out this clue and see if it's for real, because Aemond was pretty much like, nah, bro, I don't need you. Just stay in your place, do what you gotta do. As opposed to Aegon, where he was slowly creeping into that role and having more power. So I was kind of wondering if he was like, I could use my whispering power, but I don't really like you, so I don't think I care that much. So pass it on. So I was kind of wondering if that was like his take on that, but. Yeah, I mean, the scene is interesting. I don't know, when Larry, I feel like when you don't listen to Larry, you just always gotta watch your back, because it ain't no telling like what small folk he got on his side, where he better come up and pop up next. So it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, I can see that. Jamie?
Well, my theory about Larry's being a green seer is slowly coming into fruition because the camera strategically cuts to a shot of a rat in that scene with Alicent and Maester Orwell. And people have been talking about this in season 1. We've been seeing the rats kind of coming through and crawling through the Red Keep. And why do we see rats? Why do we keep seeing that? So the theory is that Larry's is a green seer and that he is in the form of a rat, and that's how he's getting his secrets. So that is I'm going with it. There we go. Yes. Grandson Ryan says Larry's is definitely a rat. I think so. And also the following scene cuts to Larry's having a conversation. So the series showrunner and writers, they kind of tell us through even the cutting and the editing how they're showing us how the series is developed, even through the telling of Adam claiming Seasmoke when they were cutting to the shots of Seasmoke flying overhead and then cutting to a shot of Adam. And then we know now that Adam is his dragon rider. So yeah, I do think that Larry's is a rat, and that will be revealed later on. And yeah, it was a very cool and interesting, well, cool maybe might be a wrong choice of words, but it was a cheeky exchange between Larry's and Jasper, where he didn't really want to know his, I wouldn't say he didn't want to know, but I guess he didn't trust his sources. He was just like, we'll just leave it to the wind. Jasper just basically has gossip as his source of information. And to me, that just says, okay, I'll basically use my own sources, which his sources is shape-shifting into a rat and getting that on his own. So he'll leave it to his own methods of getting that information to find out who in fact is the dragon rider, rather than going off of small folk, town gossip.
When we find out Larry's is a gangster store little, ain't this gonna be a trip?
If you're gonna warg into a rat, I guess we shall see.
So like, I'm not buying it.
I'm not, but you know what? I'm never gonna say never. You never know with this show. They don't always go by the book, and they throw in things. So if it's the case, I'm gonna be like, you right, Jamie, you got that. But until then, I'm just gonna okay, I will see. But speaking of Adam and Rhaenyra, we return to them. They are basically flying back to Dragonstone. The Black Counselor are shocked to learn that a commoner under Corlys's employ is the rider. And then Maester Gerardis announces Rhaenyra has asked him to teach Adam about the history of the Dragon Riders, their ways, and also to teach him High Valyrian. Jace looks on kind of silent, and Jace is looking a little salty, and I don't know why, because I thought he liked this plan. And asked, like, where's my mom at? And they're like, oh, she's not going to attend this council meeting. So I did see people tweeting about the fact that Jace is pissed off that she missed yet another meeting. She's just skirting her duties to run off with these commoners. So he's not a fan. And then Rhaenyra ends up discussing with Mysaria what's going on with Adam. And she tells, Rhaenyra tells Mysaria Seasmoke chose Adam. So she believes that this is ordained by the gods, right? He has this Targaryen or old Valyrian lineage in him. Therefore, she was right. And she's theorizing that the dragons can sense that there's something in the blood of these dragon riders that allows them to essentially bow their will to them. And then Mysaria is kind of trying to like flesh out this plan with Rhaenyra. She decides, maybe Sir Stefan was unsuccessful because his blood was too thin. Maybe he didn't have enough. So now she needs to go through her like ancestry DNA to figure out who in the nobility, could potentially be a dragon rider. And Mysaria is like, well, wait a minute. You're doing all this digging around. I know plenty of Targaryen bastards. Okay. there are many, many of them. And Rhaenyra is like, but they're commoners. So again, there's this like elitism in place where they only look at the nobles and the royals as contenders. Now, Adam himself is kind of a blip as far as Rhaenyra is concerned, but she really wants the nobility on her side. And Mysaria is trying to show her a different way. The trust in the small folk. They can be powerful. And then she even says, you're pure blood brothers, the ones that have the blood of the dragon, the ones that have this responsibility turned on you. So why not put your trust in the commoners? So Rhaenyra is kind of convinced at this point, and she says, okay, so be it. We'll raise an army of bastards. So I was like, yes, team bastards. And then later we see Corlys meet with Adam, who actually requests to be released because remember, he's serving under Corlys as a shipwright. And Corlys grants him, his freedom, essentially, like you're released from your duty. And then he says, well done, which I feel like Adam has been waiting his whole life for this moment. So I'll pause there for your thoughts on those two scenes.
Man, Mysaria, she putting the work in. I don't know. I just appreciate the team up right now because I definitely think Rhaenyra needs somebody that's gonna like listen and actually give her input and help her realize, like, she got all these men around her, like, always, trying to take it away from her. And like you said, they were like sitting there like, oh, here she go again. She's not going to show up after she already made this decision. So, more doubt instilled in somebody to be like, well, I don't necessarily think you're going down the wrong path because, it's still based on the ancestry and the blood. You don't know how many people in this kingdom, there are. So, and like we keep saying, Jamie's team, small folk, like they coming through. You can't count them out. Like, you can't just. She needs some help right now. She don't have anybody else on the team, and we need people on Vermithor and Silverwing. So it's like she got to do something. So I like how Mysaria is coming through with the info, and yeah, I like Adam. Adam being able to say like, listen, Dad, I'm about to step off. I got something else I want to do. I've been looking for your approval, but I'm about to step off. And I like how Corley's been giving, because I kind of expected him to give him a hard time. Like he kind of owed him something, which he really doesn't. So I like that he was kind of like, okay, I see what you're doing here. I see your path and how you standing firm on this. And, there's something there. So just let it go. I feel like he's kind of been, different when it comes to like, his sons and just realizing the importance, now that he doesn't have Rhaenys anymore. I feel like something's changed in him where it's a little different as far as like what it means to be, family in a sense, and like what it means to take the throne. Like, sometimes the pieces aren't always black and white. So I like how he's kind of coming around to that.
Yeah, definitely. Jamie?
Going further back, Bartimus Celtigar, he's getting on my last nerve. Like,
what he do now?
The lack of respect, like the fact that, I get it. He's a man of a certain time, and he wants to focus on like the highborn, this idea of these lowborn bastards being brought in and being considered as dragon riders. That is something that they should not consider. But this is the queen's decision. And once again, he's defying the queen. And we remember, she slapped him for that reason. So, like, this pattern of defiance, this is not something that in a position where it was a man and this is a king, that I don't think he would be this defiant. So I'm just wondering if Rhaenyra was a guy, would he act the same way? And if Rhaenyra was a man, would he even still be alive? So this man gets on my nerves, and he shouldn't even be on the council. For really, just know your place and stand in line. And that's why I liked what Corlys said. He was like, wait on the queen's. I think he said, wait on the queen's attendance on this issue. Like, let's wait to see what she has to say before we make a decision. Like that's just the way the protocol goes.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then well, what was the next thing? Oh yeah, and then the scene between Adam and
Corley.
Corley. Yeah, I had put out a thread about. I'm waiting for that moment where these two can just acknowledge their kinship in public. I want father and son to, because it seems like they both are just kind of holding on to not even wanting to publicly say that they are father and son, and it's kind of sad. But yeah, Corliss releasing him and requesting him to, or honoring his request to release him of his duties. I'm glad that he did that. But it'd be nice for him to just be like, yeah, that's my boy. My son,
That's my son. And my other
I like
one.
this comment too, by the way. Let me take it off Angelica's face. Oh
yeah, go ahead. Throw it back on there.
And about Corliss not having yeah. Oh yeah. And
Right.
about Corliss not having one bastard. Yeah, but two by the same woman. Exactly.
He liked what he likes. Apparently she was a shipwright, so she probably could talk to him about boats. Just like, a girl knows football and the guy's like, oh, you know football. Now they're the best of friends. She was probably talking to him about like wheels and sails. And he's just like, yeah, I'm going to put some babies in you.
Anyway. And there was another question. Do you think he'll make one the heir?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think he'll make Adam the heir, because I don't think he doesn't want to be, right?
Well, Adam's younger than Alan in this anyway. Yeah. Yeah, we could talk about it. We're gonna touch on that later on the recap about.
That'll get into
we want to spoil but not spoil. But just based off of what we see on the show, well, that's all we can say, because I'm a book reader and I try not to like go too much into the canon events, because you don't want to ruin it for you guys that haven't read the books yet. So we next turn our attention to Harrenhal, and we're back. But thankfully, there isn't a lot of haunting scenes. There was a little bit more action. So we see Lord Oscar Tully, the young man from a couple episodes ago. He is now the liege lord of Riverrun. He's arriving at Harrenhal with the rest of the River Lords. He summoned them. Daemon tells Oscar, you're useful to me now, right? And Oscar, something has changed. He's not this little nervous boy anymore. He's kind of he's a young man. He's now a lord, right? And he behaves accordingly. There's definitely some confidence in him now. So, Oscar is like, oh, now you want to talk to me, right? And he's like, oh, well, you're useful to me now. And Oscar has no problems telling Daemon he's basically acquired a bad reputation for barbarism and violence under the Queen's name. But his family, right? The Tullys are going to honor their oath that they made to King Viserys, right? In turn, honoring the fact that Rhaenyra is the heir. So they're going to follow Rhaenyra and her king consort. So I just love how they just stay on Daemon's neck about that. You're not the king. You're the king consort, or you're the prince. It's one or the other. Deal with it. Consort, right? Daemon tells him, go ahead and, call your vassals, call your banners to war. And Oscar's like, well, I could do that, but they hate you. Like there's an issue here that everyone hates you. And Daemon's like, that's okay. I don't want their love. I just want their swords. And then Sir Simon interrupts and's like, the River Lords are waiting. So they kind of rush off. And I love Sir Simon and all his comedic breaks. And they end up going over to the Godswood. So this scene, it is a pretty long scene, so I'll try to get through it so we can get all your commentary here. So they're at the Godswoods. Alice is nowhere in sight. We don't actually see her this episode. Daemon talks to the River Lords that are assembled, and he tells them, like, here's your liege lord, liege lord, pledge your fealty to him, and then in turn, you're going to answer my call, right, to fight on behalf of Rhaenyra's cause. And they're questioning why they should serve Oscar in the first place. One, he's really young, and two, he's aligned himself with Daemon. And Oscar's like, you guys are right. I am young, and I have no love for Daemon, who dishonored the crown, right? But I choose to honor my grandfather's oath to King Viserys. And then Daemon sidesteps his previous actions. He's like, I admit I was a little enthusiastic about getting the Brackens to my side. And he just says, like, I just want to put the past behind us. We're all united under Oscar. Let's do this thing, right? And so the River Lord Des, I don't know what to call her, because I don't know what you call a female lord. Lady? Anyway. She demands justice for Daemon's crimes. And Willem Blackwood says justice has been served, as the Brackens, who once supported the Greens, are now kneeling to the Blacks. And then Oscar decides to test Daemon's loyalty, right? Like, if we're going to do this for you, you need to do something for us. So Willem Blackwood ends up kneeling before Oscar Tully and tells him, we're going to be united. I'm going to follow you. And Willem's like, look, I'm the lord of all the River Lords. That includes the Brackens. And you have to answer for your crimes. And Willem's like, wait a minute. I just did what Daemon told me to do. And Oscar's like, seize him. So 2 guards grab him and they put him on his knees. And Willem's like, help me. Like, you told me that I should do this, right? And unfortunately, Daemon lets him take the fall. So he ends up like taking off Willem's head. The person that swore his loyalty to Daemon also swore loyalty to him, right? They were in this together, but he let him take the fall to win this army. So I felt kind of bad. And he's visibly disheveled. And there's another scene that we'll touch on, but I want to get your guys' thoughts on what happened at the Godswood.
I'm liking Oscar, how he stepping up into this leadership role, because I wasn't expecting that. Usually, I feel like you get real disrespected when you like the little lord on the scene in the Game of Thrones world and House of Dragon world. So I kind of like how he was stepping up, and he was like, "Look, I know I'm young, but it's kind of some obvious stuff that's going on right here. Like, they don't really like you, bruh. You're doing some disrespectful stuff, but I'm gonna try to get them to, to cooperate and come under your lead." So I just like how, and I also like the way he entered the scene too with Daemon, because he's kind of standing there like, "What you want now? Like, I'm just put in this position. What you got to ask? What's going on?" I just like his whole attitude with Daemon, where it's like he's coming to like Daemon's chest, but he's still like, "You ain't about to push up on me. Like, I'm telling you how it's going down. This is what we're doing." So yeah, I love Oscar how he put it down in that scene. But I mean, I was surprised. That's how Daemon rolls. Like, he knows how to get himself out of a little tight situation. There ain't no way he was gonna be like, "Yes, I asked you to do that. Let me save you." Because we already know what he's gonna do. So we knew he was a goner once. But I do like how Oscar kind of spent that though. I wasn't expecting that. I like how he kind of spent that, where he's like, "Okay, I need your help, but I got these River Lords too that I gotta be under my protection, and I can't have them thinking I can let you do whatever." So I thought that was really clever, because Daemon didn't have nothing to say. He was back there in the corner looking real sheepish. He was like, what am I gonna say? I'm gonna get out of this. So and I think, Angelica, you tweeted when
Sir Simon.
Yeah, Sir Simon was like, "Oh dear."
Oh dear.
I thought that was so perfect. Yeah. Oh dear.
It is cute.
Yes. That was a scene. Jamie, your thoughts on that scene?
The Simonisms. There should be like a Simonisms meme folder for you.
Yes.
This was a great scene. I absolutely loved it. I don't know this actor's name that plays Oscar Tully, but like, Oscar deserves an Oscar for this move. Because and I put that on Threads. It was so great. He did like this Jedi mind trick towards Daemon, which was so underhanded and just such a great chess move, because I'm loving this unraveling that is happening with Daemon Targaryen right now, with the haunting of Harrenhal that is really screwing with his mind. And now with Oscar Tully, because obviously Oscar has shown that he just has no F's left to give with how he feels about Daemon, and he's not threatened by him in the least. And I love that, the fact that it's like this kid. That's what makes it even more ironic, right? It's like this short, small, like kid that is not threatening in the least is somehow actually kind of wields a great deal of power over Daemon. And even psychologically, to the point where he's like, okay, well, I'm not going to do the dirty work of killing Willem Blackwood. I'm going to make you do it. And it actually, you actually see sort of like a little bit of wincing and pain in Daemon's face when he does it. And I love that, because I don't think you would have saw that in Daemon in season 1. And now in season 2, like, he's actually holding back when he commits an act of murder. Like, he's actually feeling guilt and pain towards doing, you know, ethically immoral things. And Alice is really doing a number on this guy. And me personally, as someone who is not a fan of Daemon, and I know that there are some Daemon stands out there, I am loving this. So yeah, this was like fingers, you know, chef's fingers kiss watching this scene through and through. I loved every bit of it.
Yeah, agreed. And your mentioning of Oscar and how young he was, it kind of it's almost like a foil to Willem, right? In season 1, how he was young and fierce and violent, but Oscar is probably around the same age, is more contained, less reactive. And so now you see, like, violence begets violence begets violence. So what happens to Willem? He loses his head. Even though he was team Black all the way, willing to do whatever, he ends up being the scapegoat. So you kind of see what happens. So, you know, let's hope Oscar Tully survives, because he's doing a good job. So, you know, Daemon is shook up by what happened, because he, you know, Willem pledged himself to him and he feels responsible for this. And we see him kind of walk through Harrenhal. There's a goat that passes him. I don't quite know the significance of this. Maybe because the scapegoat, and maybe because Willem was a sacrifice, right? So, you know, that's deep. Anyways, just thought about that. So, because, you know, with this show, they always, like you said, they place animals in random spots. There's no throwaway scenes. So you always have to think, like, what are they trying to say? What are they trying to say here? But as he walks into his chambers, he finds Viserys in his dying form, right? Not the young, good-looking version we saw last year. You know, with half his face gone, sitting on the edge of his bed, holding the crown. And Daemon sits next to him and is like, what is this? And Viserys says, you know, he's looking at this crown and he's like, I never wanted the crown. It caused so much pain. It crushed the one that wore it. And he looks at Daemon and says, you always wanted the crown. Do you still want it? Do you? And he, like, holds it up. So it's basically a metaphor, right? Heavy is the head that wears the crown. So that's a very short scene, but just your thoughts on, you know, like you said, Daemon's unraveling and Viserys' return as the Crypt Keeper.
I can't remember. I think it was Jamie. You said it last episode where you said it would have been cool to have, like, that kind of the Viserys with the, like, skeleton, because it would have added to, like, that horror that Daemon's in already. So I was like, maybe they were taking it. I was like, maybe they were taking it. Maybe it's it. So, but yeah, I don't have much to add about that. I mean, you know, it's kind of hard still to see Viserys like that, but, you know, I mean, it's just more rubbing in Daemon's face. Like, do you really think you can be the leader? Like, you chasing this, and do you really think you understand what it means?
Yeah, definitely. Jamie, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good metaphor to show that as we're seeing this unraveling, that he is slowly deteriorating the same way that Viserys was physically deteriorating as he got older. And it's good that we are seeing it, showing it really heavy on the head, that Viserys didn't want the crown, and he's trying to tell his brother, like, look, I suffered dire consequences for what I dealt with when I did take the crown. If you go down this path, this is what could happen to you, or worse. So, you know, he's trying to give him, it's like that meme, or even like that scene in oh gosh, what is it? Oh gosh, now I can't
Give
think
me a
of it.
hint.
It's that long movie with Keenen Ivory Wayans where he says message. But you know what I'm talking about?
Trying to think.
Guys in the
No.
chat, help us out. Help us out.
Yeah, help us out if you know it. Help us out if you know
Don't be
it.
a menace while drinking your juice in the hood. That one.
Oh.
Nice.
But yeah, there's a scene where Keenen Ivory Wayans, he says message. So that's that moment where like, look, the series is trying to tell you something. The message is like, look, don't go down the path that I'm going. If you do, I don't know if you're going to end up looking like me. I don't know if you end up being a crypt keeper, but your life is going to deteriorate in a really bad way. And the crown is just not worth it. So that's really what these dreams are about. And that's what Alice is, kind of trying to, in a weird witchy way, help him with these lucid dreams.
Yep, agreed. And it actually was Patty's idea to do this scene as a crypt keeper.
Oh, okay.
Crypt keeper of a series. He's like, I want the makeup on. Show me in my worst form. So shout out to Patty once again, just killing it. So we cut from one decrepit king to another. we cut to Maester Orwell rehabbing Aegon, right? He's going through physical therapy. He's helping him learn to walk again. And he does bear a striking resemblance to Viserys in his last days, right? Half his head is burnt, all the skin's exposed. He can't walk, right? He needs the assistance of a cane. And so this is hard work. And I kind of felt a little bad. I'm like, why is this show making me feel bad for Aegon? But he can't walk. He falls over. Larry's ends up coming into the room and tells, Master Orwell he can't let him do that by himself. They get him into the bed. Clearly, Aegon's in a lot of pain. And Larry tells him, like, I'm really proud of your progress and everything, but you have to try harder. So I was like, dang. And then Larry's orders Maester Orwell to continue to push Aegon, right? He's like, let him rest for now and then have him walking in a few hours. And Orwell's like, he needs his rest. This is too much. This is too hard. But he ends up agreeing. And then we end up cutting to Alicent in the Kingswood. She rides into the encampment that Sir Rickard has set up for her. She tells him she wishes to retire for the evening. She kind of goes inside her tent, and then he asks her, like, are you planning to return to the city? And she's like, I'm not ready yet. Sorry. Good night. And then this is later in the episode, but she has very few scenes this episode. We see her, walking through an open field. There's flowers. She ends up going towards a lake. For a second, I thought she was going to end it all and like drown herself, but she ends up taking. I was like, oh, she ends up taking a swim. And she's like floating on her back, and it looks like she's trying to get her peace back. She's trying to like find herself, and she opens her eyes and looks up at the sky, and something shifts in her face. I don't know if it's like, all right, I got myself back, I need to get back in the game, or she's just like, F this, F these kids, F these dragons. I don't know, but she seems to have a moment in that scene. So I'll pause there for, Aegon's physical therapy and then Alicent glamping.
Man, Aegon is, I don't know if it kind of made me wince because he was in pain. I don't know if I necessarily feel too bad for him, because I still keep going back to his page, like a little bit, maybe. But I was just like, ooh, and you could just tell that was just a lot. But I was surprised he even attempted it, to be honest. So he's trying to get the upper hand on Aemond, or definitely fears for his life, because he is pushing it to the max, everything he can do. And Larry's I hope it worked. Like, I hope he's really, for Aegon's sake, I hope that's what he's trying to do, is kind of help him, because, I guess he sees him being able to clear a path to do something different than Aemond. So hopefully it works out. But I'm like, you don't have dude on the floor passed out for you get to the point where you're trying to get at the way you pushing him. But I'm assuming he knows. It's not his first rodeo. So I'm hoping he actually knows what the heck he's doing, because it was looking rough right there for a second. But At least we had no weird scenes where it's like Aegon pulling stuff off himself and everything. I'm like, oh god, I can't watch any more scenes like this. So I'm glad it was just put him on the bed and it was good and we were good to go on that. But yeah, I mean, I'm hoping he doesn't get taken out before he gets up walking, because we know Aemond gonna get wind that he's trying to. That's what I keep thinking. I'm like, when is Aemond gonna come through the door and realize that he's doing rehab hardcore and keeps walking around? And then my girl Alicent, yeah, she straight up ran, and I don't know. Like, I feel like you can't respect that because you see what they were doing on the other side, and it's like, girl, did you really just run off to your little glamping trip where you know stuff is going down? And it's like you can't really feel bad for Aemond either, but it's like at this moment, your son is like on the green team. I feel like it's slowly doing them down what they have right now. Like the small folk is turning up. Aemond just like I feel like he's kind of all over the place because he's still after his quest, maybe to see if he could beat Daemon or figure out a way to beat Daemon. So maybe he's not all the way thinking clearly anymore. Mm-hmm. So I just feel like she just backed off. She was just like, well, I'm just going to let it crash and, I'll be back. After I finish glamping, I'll be back. Hopefully the castle's still standing. It's kind of what she did. So I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I respect that one. I feel like she could have hung it out a little tougher than that.
That's what happens when you get fired by your own kid, you got to do something. Jamie, any thoughts?
So yeah, Aegon is starting to look like Viserys 2.0. Goodness gracious. He's looking rough. I didn't know that they were going to rough him up that bad compared to the way it's described in the books. I'm like, damn, they really went in on how he how they decided to make him look. But it's bad for Aegon. He really looks broken. Yeah. I don't feel bad for him.
I just said just a smidge. Like, I'm like, dang, they just he all busted up over there.
Yeah, he really busted up. Like, goodness gracious. Like he really kind of almost looks worse than Viserys looked when he was on his deathbed. Like, jeez. Yeah, and then with the Alicent scenes, I just always find it fascinating that there's this, and I don't quite know what the metaphor is just yet. Like, I believe I've discussed it in previous recaps, what I thought the metaphor was, but I don't know what it is as it relates to this episode. But there's always this parallel with Alicent and water that we've seen that's been pervasive throughout this whole entire series. And previously, the water, or we've seen her bathing, right? We've always seen her in bath scenes. And for me, it was always a signal or a sign, rather, of her kind of washing away her sins, washing away the bad deeds that she had been committing throughout all of these different episodes. I quite haven't pegged what this scene was about, what was going on. I didn't get the sense that she was committing or going to unalive herself, but I'm still trying to figure that one out. Maybe it's going to take another episode, hopefully, or I'll have to wait till next season to figure out what that means. But yeah, it is interesting that we're always seeing water and Alicent sort of going hand in hand in this story.
I will say the theming of this episode, that there's a lot of talk about the gods and things being ordained, and there's even some scenes there that we'll talk about that was very like churchy and preachy. So maybe this scene was reminiscent. She's wearing all white when she goes down into the water. It's reminiscent of a baptism, right? A rebirth. Yeah, because I think I had mentioned earlier, she opens her eyes, looks up at the sky, and her face kind of changes. And I don't know what that means, right? If she has a new plan, is she's at peace? But it almost seems like a rebirth for her. So I think you had a good point about the water and Alicent for sure.
And that could definitely be it. That could definitely be it, like a baptism. Yeah. Because she is very religious. In her beliefs and stuff. So yeah.
Yep. And she sees like a bird in the sky, like the dove. I mean, I'm going way into it, but yeah, I think it could work.
No, but I don't think you're that far off either, though. I think that's probably very much on the nose, in fact. So
yeah. Well, let's see how let's see them going to church this episode. We'll get into more of that.
Yeah.
So we next see Corley's meeting with Alan. They're preparing to depart Driftmark, right? Because they have a blockade. They have business to take care of. The sea snake, the ship, not the person, is in shape. And he tells Alan that Adam has claimed Seasmoke, which it looks like it kind of surprises Alan, but it really doesn't because he knows how his brother is. And so Corlys ends up telling Alan, Rhaenyra has called for other dragon seed. So she has this theory about, people of Targaryen bloodlines being able to ride a dragon. And then Corlys does mention this. The Velaryons, although they come from Old Valyria, they're not dragon lords, right? They're seafarers. So he tells Adam, like, I know you're a Velar, pretty much saying, I know you're a Velaryon, right, through me, but I didn't know about your mother's heritage. Maybe there's something in her blood that could be the reason why Adam can ride a dragon, and maybe you can too. That's what he hints at, right? He doesn't really say it outright. And Alan says this to Corlys. He says, my brother was always restless. He was always searching for a sign of his worth. Then Alan says, I am of salt and sea, and I yearn for nothing else. So that is a callback to Baela, right? She had mentioned that a couple episodes ago, that Driftmark needs to pass to someone that is of salt and sea, and yet here is Alan saying those very words. And so to answer I forgot who asked earlier in the recap about whether or not Corlys is going to name someone an heir, it seems like the show is definitely setting up Alan to be the heir of Driftmark. So I'll stop there for your thoughts on that scene.
Oh, first of all, does my mic sound better? Definitely did not have the right input in. You guys sound better? Okay, cool. But I think that would be great. I think it would be great for Alan to take over. I mean, he has all the qualities. I know he doesn't exactly want it. I feel like he just kind of wanted to be left alone. He was like, I don't really need this. I can just keep doing my job that I already had and kind of going about my way. But I think it would be, I feel like that's kind of the natural path. Like you said, Baela, she's already kind of staked her claim where she wants to go. And I feel like that's a natural path for him to go. Obviously it won't be Adam. So I think that'll be good for Alan. And I like their interaction. Like I said, I'm loving Corlys and his sons in this one, because I didn't think every interaction they had was going to go like this. It's been very like, okay, they're standing on business. I understand, maybe he sees where he messed up, as a dad, and he's like, let me just get out of the way. He was like, if you want to do this, like, I understand, let me just do what I got to do and step out the way, let you do what you got to do. So I think those interactions have been so cool to watch.
Yep. Jamie?
I mean, there's something that Alan is that I want to know more about, because he's hiding his Targaryen ancestry by cutting his hair, right? Mm-hmm. And we don't know about his mom's heritage. So, and he yearns to be part of Salt and Sea, as he says, and doesn't really want to lean into his Targaryen heritage. Why? That's the question that we still need to know about Alan. Adam seems to be fine with that, leaning more into that part of his heritage by having a relationship with Seasmoke and being a dragon rider, but Alan not so much. And maybe there's some issues with his mom, maybe, I don't know. But I would like to know that part of his story. What's going on with his Targaryen heritage that he's so bummed out about?
Yeah, or I mean, he could just take after his daddy. He just really loves the sea. He just like, I just want to be on a boat.
I don't know. I don't know if that's simple. I don't. Why you cutting your hair, bro? I don't think it's that simple.
He don't want no responsibility. He's like, look, put me out on deck.
There's something going on. He doesn't want. There's something else going on. Yeah.
He doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't want any part of nobility, it seems, which goes back to
why. That's the question.
Yeah, that's the question, right? But maybe it's a good thing, right? We said like the person who doesn't want the crown is the one that should rule. Well, he don't want to rule nothing. He don't want Driftmark. He don't want to be held up. That could be the sign of a good leader. I don't know. but I guess the show will let us know, because it is not explored right in the book. Unfortunately, this is definitely of the show's making. So there's actually a brief scene with Rhaena. She is leaving the Eyrie with a young princess, and Lady Jane looks on. I do not trust Lady Jane.
Right.
I just, there's something off about her. This wasn't talked about. This wasn't on the show, but it was in the book, and we've passed that period, so it's not a spoiler. But we saw when Jace went up to meet with Lord Kragan Stark. He also met with Lady Jane, and she allegedly tried to get him in bed. So I already don't really trust her. Yeah, I don't know if that happened. So she was like, "Yeah, I'll pledge my loyalty to your mom, but you need to get up in this bed." So I don't trust her per se. That's according to Mushroom. But anyways, off that, she watches as Rhaena walks off. Right. There's the whole like retinue of the young princes and their guards and their staff, and then Rhaena's trailing behind. Lady Jane's watching. She sees them go. She turns, the doors close right to the Eyrie, and then Rhaena runs off. And I'm like, Rhaena, where you going, girl? Like, you're supposed to stay with the princes. And she's hell bent on hunting down this dragon, this wild dragon that many of us believe is Sheep Stealer. So color me disappointed, keeps leading towards Sheep Stealer being in the Vale, which Sheep Stealer does end up in the Vale in the book, but he's not found in the Vale. So this points to Nettles' erasure, but we're gonna stop there. Thoughts on Rhaena's arc, I guess, being fleshed out now.
Oh yeah, I thought about you as soon as that scene happened. I was like, Angelica probably somewhere like, why are you doing this to me? Why are you keeping it going? But yeah, I was kind of like you. I was like, what are you gonna do with the babies? You can't just leave the babies by themselves. Like, no, I mean, I guess, I'm sure they'll be fine somewhat, but still, like, you were supposed to help, raise and be with the babies, and you don't know what's gonna happen in this. Like, every time House of Dragon, they leave their kids alone somewhere else. You just hope, hopefully they're gonna be the decent kid and just turn out okay, and nothing crazy didn't happen, because I can't keep my eyes on them. But so yeah, that kind of worried me a little bit for like future. I know we're not gonna get into that, obviously for this one, but future stuff, that kind of worried me that she's kind of left them alone like that. But yeah, I didn't think Rhaena's story was gonna take this turn. Like, if you think about like how she started the first season till now, like, I did not think that's where they were taking her. But I mean, you got to give a shout out to Phoebe. Like, it's like this quiet strength to Rhaena's character, where it was like, I want to see her do more. But I feel you guys. On the other side of it, it's like, if you read the books, this was the character. You could have gave us all of it. You could have advanced my girl and then put Nettles in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
like, we love Rhaena. We just love Nettles too.
There you go. Yeah. So yeah. So I don't know, but yeah, that's my little 2 cents. I don't know.
Yeah. Jamie,
I mean, what if Ryan Condal did like the okey doke on us, and it's not Sheep Stealer, but it's Mourning? You know what I'm saying? Like, I get that there's the whole trail of sheep. What is it? Corpses or whatever, bones and stuff, to show that it could be Sheep Stealer, but we don't know that for a fact.
We don't know yet.
So maybe Mourning could be that wild dragon, and
they have
Sheep Stealer. You know what I'm saying? So because he never said
there
no.
she goes. Okay, she's back. I'm about to say her hope got her.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Am I going in and out?
We heard the tail end. You said you hope that she shows up.
I hope she shows up. I really do, because this is like,
that's our girl.
Yeah,
it's the only Black female canon character in Fire and Blood, and to completely erase her from this show would just be absolutely devastating for our audience, for all fans of the books. Because I think you mentioned it, Angelica, there's like a podcast with 2 white guys that were like really upset Yeah.
she's a
So
fan
like
favorite.
yeah, so she's a fan favorite. And like right now we're having this conversation around like the lowborn dragon riders that are, now claiming these dragons. And I think that that's a good conversation that's happening in these discussions, especially, and I know we're going to get to that part, but that there's sort of this hierarchy of, well, who is better? Why is highborn better than lowborn when it comes to dragon riding? And I think that makes for really good, compelling plot and storyline, that you don't have to be of Targaryen blood to ride a dragon. And there's fans that are more like casual fans or just TV fans that don't even know that you don't have to have Targaryen heritage to ride a dragon. And Nettles' story proves that. So,
Yep.
to bring her out of the story is just, it sucks because there's so much more lore to the George R.R. Martin universe that we get to learn through her, that you get to know about dragons. And now we potentially might not know that, but maybe we will. We'll see.
We'll see. I mean, like it could. I'm hoping, let's say they didn't end up casting Nettles at all this season and they end up giving Sheepsealer to Rhaena. Well, who's to say that Nettles can't show up and find her dragon in season 3 with let's say there's enough negative feedback that they're like, okay, they have 2 years to work on this. Let's work Nettles back into the story. I mean, who's to say?
Maybe her role Rhaena will give Sheepsealer to Nettles. I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know. They're gonna find a way to give Nettles a dragon.
They did change Seasmoke's, because Adam claimed Seasmoke. Yes. So they changed that from the book. So maybe they can they've been doing a lot of changes from the book.
Well, I would say they killed Laenor in the book, and that's why Adam got Seasmoke. So Adam always ends up with Seasmoke. It's just the manner of how he got Seasmoke is what was different.
But we don't know if Laenor is even alive. TV show. We don't know if he's dead or alive.
No, we don't. Well, I'm just saying they changed that in season 1. So instead of outright killing him, they let him run off. And so that's another theory that's going around, is the fact that Adam was able to claim Seasmoke. That must mean that Laenor has died in Essos, 12 years or however many years it's been since he last left Dragonstone. But yeah, I'm just hoping, they see the feedback and they work Nettles into the story, because even if the season ends without her, she still plays such a big role in the rest of the universe of Fire and Blood.
But didn't they completely change the lore of claiming dragons on this show? Has a dragon ever claimed a person in the book?
I don't think, no, they didn't mention the dragons claiming people. It was more so these dragon riders said, oh, okay, gotcha.
That's what I'm saying is there. Yeah, so them making all of these different changes is something that play with anyway, since they're doing that with all these other characters. And when they bring in potentially Nettles, they can just do that with her. And I feel like probably fans will forgive it, because they're used to it anyway.
All right, you've changed it up enough. Just bring us some Nettles and give her a dragon already. So we'll see. We'll see. Fingers crossed. So we're back in Dragonstone. And this scene kind of bothered me because I don't like seeing Jace's bad side. But Jace confronts Rhaenyra about allowing these lowborns to claim dragons. And he's like, was it Mysaaria's idea, right? Because he already don't trust Mysaria. You could tell he has great disdain for her. And then, Rhaenyra is like, well, you were happy about Sir Stefan, claiming a dragon. He's like, well, that's because he was a noble birth. He was the Lord Commander of the Queen's Guard. Like, these lowborns are mongrels. And I was like, not Jace over here saying slurs. Like, I got upset because I love me some Jace, but he was doing a lot. So he called them mongrels, and Rhaenyra was like, well, what do you want me to do? Like, we have to get dragon riders. So you have to understand what's at stake. And he's like, Mom, if you allow the lowborn to ride the dragons, what does that say about us Targaryens, right? The dragons are their ancient right? The way that the show and the books have pushed this narrative is that you have to be of the blood of Old Valyria, specifically directly that of a dragon lord. So right now, the only dragon lords that are alive are the Targaryens. If you do not come from that bloodline, technically you should not be able to claim any dragons. So Jace is very threatened by this. You know, he's like, what's going to happen when some low-born, silver-haired dragon rider decides that he should rule the Seven Kingdoms? And Rhaenyra is like, you are my heir. And he's not so sure about that. So, you know, she just keeps talking about the fact they need these dragons to win. They need to be able to avoid this war. She wants to put herself on the throne and then pass on the throne and the secret of Aegon's dream onto her son. And then Jace has a moment where he says, did you know that I would have dark hair? And Rhaenyra is pretty taken aback by this. And he's like, did you think about me when you brought Sir Harwin Strong into your bed? Did you consider how this would affect me? You know, my legitimacy is questioned on a regular basis based on how I look, based on my dark features. People are questioning my Targaryen roots, but since I have a dragon, right, that kind of puts him in a position where he's still respected. If Rhaenyra allows these commoners to ride dragon, that strips his rights away. And he just doesn't want that to happen. So he's begging his mom, like, do not pursue this path. And she's like, I can't. You know, the gods have laid it out for me. So, you know, I wasn't too happy about seeing this scene. Your thoughts on that exchange between Jace and Rhaenyra?
Yeah, man, this is the first time I was like you. This is the first time I was like watching a Jace scene. And I was like, oh, what's he about? I was like, what is he about to do? What's he going down with? It made me sad because I don't like to see them like at odds like this. But and it also makes you think, like, I totally forgot, you know, about how that's going to affect them, you know, or affect him now, you know, as he's supposed to, you know, take the throne if something happens. You know, the fact that all through as he was growing up, those whispers were behind him. Like everybody knew, you know, Viserys was doing the best he can to, like, you know, dead it and like, no, you know, this is my grandson, have some respect. But we all know, like, everybody in the castle was going around whispering about what was going down and everything. So you never think about how that stayed with them and what that meant. But I did wonder why he kept, like, you know, acting real salty and going out the rooms real quick lately. Like, I didn't understand what he was, because it was his idea to begin with, you know, maybe not this way, but to help his mom, like, we need somebody to ride these dragons. Like, we need, you know, like Syrax and, you know, I'm forgetting the name of his dragon, but they can't just all go up against Vhagar by themselves. So I'm like, they need a backup plan, but I don't know. Yeah, that was hard. But it just begs this question of, they still have like that, I guess, like Valyrian or Targaryen blood, though. It's not like it's just, you know, even though she doesn't know about Adam that much, it's not totally just a random person, though. You know what I mean? It's not just like they haven't done like the Nettles storyline or something like that. Doesn't it still have that like bloodline going down? So I was kind of taken aback a little bit by his reaction, you know, when he was going through it, because I'm like, it's not totally like, I understand how you wanted to feel, you know, privileged and highborn and nobody can step on that. But it's like, as far as I know, there's nothing that's going to knock you out right now as being her heir if something does happen. And the dragon still has to pick this person, and they have to have that blood for right now that we know that they're going to detect. So it's not totally just like, you know, anybody's mama, you know, mom and dad could just come and get the dragon. So I was kind of trying to figure out why his reaction was that way. But I mean, I guess if you don't ever feel like you fit, I guess he had his outburst. So we'll see how it goes. But I hate seeing that in my odds. I just feel so bad about that. I'm like, I hope that doesn't push him like to something else drastic.
I hope not. Jamie, your thoughts?
I'm crossing my fingers.
Yeah. When I put it up on Threads, I felt the same way you guys did. I was very upset about him using the term mongrel. I was like, boy, you better watch your tongue.
Right.
And then someone responded, yeah, for real, like, excuse me, Joe? And then someone responded and said that he's projecting. And then I was like, that's it. He's projecting. And we got to remember, Jace is still young, and he's probably still dealing with a lot of those issues of being a bastard kid, because that's essentially still who he is. He's not a pure Targaryen. And he probably still has that mentality. I mean, even though he's heir to the throne, he still has that mentality that he's not a pure Targaryen, that he's not even highborn. And so yeah, he might even think that he's a mongrel. So him saying that is him projecting it outward. And that I can, I can understand him feeling that way. It's not right. I mean, you brought that up, Ryan, about like this is his idea, but his idea is focusing on Targaryen-born, purebred dragon riders. That's what his thinking is. Yeah. But yeah, that he's got to be a little bit more open-minded, but at the same time, I get it because he's probably holding on to that idea of what he went through, and really he didn't really go through a lot. I mean, he didn't go through what Jon Snow went through. Jon Snow went through a whole lot more,
He wasn't even a bastard.
yeah, he was dealing with bullying and a mom that just basically pushed him to the side. I mean, so I think that Jace got it a lot more better than him, but probably at the end of the day, he felt like because he doesn't look like his mom and he doesn't look like the way that the Targaryen ancestry and all of the rest of his descendants look, that he is not highborn. So yeah.
There's phenotype matters apparently in this world, because I'll say that Jace is no more Targaryen than Aemond and Aegon, right? Because each of them has one true Targaryen parent and the other is not. So he just happens to have the dominant features of the dark-haired Strongs. But yeah, he got a chip on his shoulder. And this is not helping the chip. So then we see Massaria giving a message to Alan. This is actually the first time I've seen them in a scene together, and he's already like obeying her. And she hands him a message and tells him to do what is necessary. So his message gets passed along from person to person to person until it reaches Alinda, who, if you guys remember, is Rhaenyra's lady in waiting at King's Landing. Alinda puts on her murder, well, it's not a murder coat, or her murder hood, but she puts on her hood.
Her handmaid tail.
Yeah, her handmaid tail. Shout out to the handmaid.
Shout out, handmaid.
Recap. Anyways, yeah, so she got her handmaid's tail hood and she's out in the streets, and you can see her talking to a lot of silver-haired people, all right? She's spreading the word about the sowing, right? The call that Rhaenyra put out that all low-born dragon riders of Targaryen descent, they must descend upon Dragonstone. So we end up cutting to Ulf the White. He's told about the sowing in the alehouse by his buddies. And the guy that was bragging about being the half-brother of Viserys and Daemon, he don't got too much to say right now. He's like, yeah, I would go, but my legs still hurt. So I'm just going to stay back. And they're like, come on, Ulf, that's not the person that we know. And then they're like encouraging him, like the whole bar is basically like, Ulf, the dragon rider. So he kind of gets peer pressured into going to Dragonstone. And then we end up cutting to Hugh, who is also prepared to go to Dragonstone against his wife's wishes. She's like, just we can survive this. Let's go to Tumbleton. Not a good place, people. My brother's there. You can find a job. And he was like, I have to go. Like, I know I wasn't able to take care of you. I wasn't able to take care of our daughter. And their daughter apparently has passed off camera. But he ends up telling her a secret about himself. He didn't know his father, but he did know his mother. And she worked in a pleasure house and was given more freedom than any other, sex worker because she was a Targaryen bastard. In fact, she was the half sister of Viserys and Daemon as well. So that means that Ulf and Hugh are also brothers in some capacity, or cousins. I don't know, but they're related. And then Hugh ends up apologizing to his wife for keeping that secret because he was ashamed of it. And he wanted to work, he wanted to reach his goals by his own sweat, right? By his own work, which is another thing that Alan of Hull wants to do. earn it on their own, not because of who their parents are. But at the end of the day, he chooses to claim the dragon. And he tells her, like, look, once I claim this dragon, I'll be a nobleman. You will be a lady. And she's like, look, I don't want to be a lady or a widow. But Hugh ends up going regardless. And he sets out with the rest of the Dragon Sea that are left in King's Landing. They head to the boats, which are being led by Alan of Hull. So I'll stop there because once we get started with this next section, it is just it's action packed. So your thoughts on those scenes there with Alinda and Ulf and Hugh?
I like Ulf's friends. I like one like trying to hype him up, and the other one was like, nah, bro, I ain't answering that call. She crazy. She think I'm about to go to Dragonstone try to get me a dragon. I like the way they were like going back and forth, like he just sitting there. But yeah, Ulf was checking it out. What you doing? The whole time you've been talking about, this is my lineage, just where I gotta go. He just like, oh, my leg is hurt. I was like, really, bro? This what we doing? Like, what we doing right now? But yeah, I like how they kind of encouraged him to like get out there, go out there and try it. So, and like you said, I love that like little secret of Alinda like passing around the message, and we get to kind of see her moving around and who she goes to and how they got the secret network going on. So yeah, I thought all that was really cool. But yeah, Ulf was like the funniest part of that moment where he was just straight up chicken out. Like he was like, nah, I don't want to do it. I can't do it.
Mm-hmm. The worst. Jamie?
Yeah, just to add to that, I mean, it was hilarious because Ulf the White he's like the guy that talks about everybody's family members, and you're like, dude, can you just keep it down a notch? So yeah, the fact that he was like telling everybody and everybody's grandmother about his ancestry and I'm a Targaryen and I'm this, that, and the third. And now when you have the opportunity, okay, you are of Targaryen heritage. There is an open call for dragon riders. Step right up. He's like, well, I'm not really ready for all of that. My feet hurt and I'm not. Like, okay, bruh, really? So yeah, that was absolutely hilarious moment to me.
Yeah, big fail. So we end up going to probably one of the most anticipated moments on this show, the official sowing of the dragon seed. So Rhaenyra is watching as the dragon seed arrive at the castle. She actually goes to meet them, but is confronted by the dragon keepers, right? Who call the dragon seed abominations. So just more like elitism. I feel like it's like ethnic prejudice. It's like I'm like it's a lot going on here. Just haters all around. And one of the keepers tells her that the gods have already judged them, right, for sending an Andal to claim Seasmoke. And so he's calling Sir Stefan an Andal, which is a race of people. They're lighter haired, and they came from Essos, right, to claim Seasmoke. And Rhaenyra was like, no, hold up, wait a minute. He did have Targaryen blood. And the Dragon Keeper's like, no, it's blasphemy. He was no Dragon Lord, just like the rest of these aren't Dragon Lords. And Rhaenyra says they were sent by the gods. And the Keeper's like, keep that, okay? The dragons are the last trace of magic from old Valyria. They are sacred. Me and my order, we out. And they dip. And mind you, this whole conversation is in High Valyrian, so very few can understand it. But I'm actually glad they were talking in High Valyrian, so people didn't realize that a whole order of dragon keepers just quit on her. But Rhaenyra is undeterred. She decides to address the dragon seed. She actually goes out amongst them. One of her Queen's Guard tries to stop her, and she's like, no, I'm safe, I got it. And apparently Emma thought of this. Emma wanted to talk to the dragon seed as if they were a preacher, right? So Rhaenyra is essentially, she's the shepherd. This is her flock. She's giving them the pep talk of a lifetime, right? Because they're about to get into it. So she tells them, there was a point in time that she knew what it meant to be a dragon rider, but those thoughts are like ashes in the wind. It could be their blood. It could be, their worth, right? Their effort. But she knows that they've come to join her cause and that they left someone behind in order to serve her. And she tells them, you guys are going to be transformed. Like, she was definitely given a message, a sermon. Okay. You're going to be transformed by your encounter with a dragon. And it's possible that you may choose death as the alternative to the inevitable war and starvation that is going to come your way. If you claim the remaining dragons, peace will be restored. The bloodshed will end. Our bloodshed will end. And so she's encouraging them, like she's giving them a word, and then she starts to talk about Vermithor, right? She's like, hey, Vermithor is the largest dragon in the world outside of Vhagar, right? He is called the Bronze Fury. He is feisty. Who's going to go out to meet him? And may the gods bless you, right? So she's she's trying to rally this crowd, and so she walks out with her party. So she has Adam, and she has Bela behind her, the Maesters. They're all walking out into the Dragon Mouth, right, into the caves where the dragons' lairs are, and she turns to face them and she summons Vermithor and High Valyrian. And this scene was amazing because the ground starts to shake. Yep. And you see this giant figure rising from the darkness. And then you see Vermithor's head. And it's it takes up the entire frame. I don't know about y'all, but I would be scared. So I was like, ooh, time to run. And so Rhaenyra starts to command him and High Valyrian to be calm, to serve. He bares his teeth, he lowers his head, and he starts to snarl a little bit, but Rhaenyra remains calm. She just keeps saying, be calm, serve me, obey. So he ends up bowing his head down. He allows Rhaenyra to touch him, right? Because he does recognize that she's a true Targaryen, and he settles down, right? And so Rhaenyra turns to the dragon seed that are in front of her, and she says, who will go first? And Bela and Adam actually get out the way, right? As this young silver-haired man approaches. And then I thought this was kind of scazy. Rhaenyra is like, all right, I have nothing left to tell you. The dragon needs to talk now. And then she just walks away with her people and goes to a safe location. And then obviously the path is blocked by armed guards. So the dragon seed are essentially trapped. And I was like, ooh, Rhaenyra, this is not nice, but she gotta do what she gotta do. So Vermithor sniffs the dragon seed. His head is towering over them. The young man that came forward tries to touch Vermithor, and as you can see, Vermithor is not feeling him. And so he releases dragon fire and burns half of the dragon seed. The Queen's Guard Rhaenyra, it's time to go, because there's fireballs here, fireball there. Someone's getting eaten. Someone's caught on fire. It's pure chaos. And Rhaenyra's like, no, we're going to watch this. So the dragon teeth try to escape. The guards hold them back. Then we see Hugh. He's watching Vermithor from a distance. He starts to run off and hides behind a rock. There's another young lady there behind him, and he tries to protect her, and he tells her come on. They try to creep away, but Vermithor catches them and approaches. He looks like he's about to attack the girl, but Hugh distracts him and says hey, right here, I'm ready. And this was another great shot. You see Hugh facing down Vermithor, and he's like light it up, come on, what are you waiting for? And instead of attacking, Vermithor bows his head to Hugh as well, and Hugh touches him. And as he's looking up, he sees Rhaenyra, and she looks very happy, right? Her plan worked, but at what cost, right? Because a lot of people died. So I'll stop there before we move on to the next dragon rider. But your thoughts on that scene, because it was very chaotic and very visceral.
Yeah, I love Rhaenyra's speech. I almost want to go try to see if I could ride a dragon. That was a good speech. I was like, okay. But then I saw Vermithor come the head, and I was like, that's a no. I was like, that's cool. I'm good to go. And I also liked how they gave her a little moment where you could see her connection with the dragons, and how because Vermithor was like, why you calling me? Why you summoning me right now? Because I'm sure he'd been back there chilling, not having a rider. And so she was like, I like that little moment where you can see that connection and that that calmness that she has with the dragons, and then that they, they respect her, respond, and everything. So I thought that was a cool moment. But what was not cool is how all them people running around looking like snacks, and he was definitely jumping down. It was just it was definitely a Jurassic Park moment, bringing that up again. I don't know, it was the noises, it was the people running. it was crazy. Like you said, she got to her point, but it was like, man, like everybody was gone. Like all the people that came for like that hope of like, something better and that they could do something different. It's like, you can't win for losing, because it's like, I guess you got starvation over there, but dang, I just got barbecue and I ate like a little snack. So why was I even up? You know what I mean? Like, why did I even come to, Dragonstone? But I don't know. I guess to be in charge, to be the leader, you gotta do what you gotta do, I guess. But it was hard to watch. I was just like, oh my God, when is it gonna end? Because you had a feeling, right? Like you had a feeling, from the books and all that kind of stuff. But with Huff, but I just was like, or Hugh, but I was just like, what do you do? Like, that's a lot of people. Like, it was crazy. I was like, just to get to that one moment, and I was like, maybe if he stepped out sooner, it could have helped. I don't know, but I mean, who knows? Who knows if he was still in little flame? Because both of him and Uff Little Chicken Tail both was like on the side of the rock. Like as soon as it hit, they both like jumped off on the side. I was like, really? This. And it looked like, did Rhaenyra have like a little tear? I wonder if it was like a little tear or something. Or no, maybe I was looking at it too hard. It might not be. I don't know.
Maybe. She just looked real happy, real proud. That's all I saw. She was like, I know that's right. I knew I was right. There's another dragon rider. So yeah. Jamie, you had any thoughts on that lovely scene?
Yeah, I'll keep it brief because my connection is not stable. So I was just really concerned for the girl that was with Hugh the Hammer, because I really thought he was going to use her as bait to throw her in the way while he would have run to the other side. Because we do kind of learn that later on in the story, Hugh is actually not a good guy. But yeah, so I was concerned about that. But I did like the fact that, he went in front of that dragon and he was just like, look, come at me, bro. Because Hugh at this point, what has he got to lose? Like, his family is starving. He has nowhere to go. Like, he really has nothing to live for at this point. So I think that Vermithor, in my opinion, I think Vermithor just had respect for Hugh in that moment. It's like, okay, you don't fear me. Plus, you smell like a Targaryen. So
right. We cool.
I think we cool. Like, I respect you, bro. Like, you smell good. I respect you. I think we can roll together. So I think that's ultimately what made those two click. But yeah, this was so. I got a chance to see this at San Diego Comic-Con, and I have to say, like, this is my favorite episode of the series so far. Like, I really love the action. I love the way everything has been set up with the sowing, with the dragon seeds, with the recruitment. I'm still with you, Angelica, on the erasure of Nettles. I'm still kind of like,
where's she at?
We're working on that. Aside from that, I really love where this story is going. And I just absolutely was just dialed in from the beginning, and even like the tension between Oscar Tully and Damon, and like from beginning to end, I really enjoyed this episode. So yeah, going up to this point with Vermithor and Hugh, I know we're going to talk next about the other dragon and another rider. I just was really, really geeked out over what we're going to be seeing with the Dance of the Dragons. So yeah, these scenes were great.
Yeah, definitely. I was tapped in for that whole, I think it was like a 10-minute sequence almost. I was definitely dialed in. So we as Ryan said, his scary self, Ulf, escapes deep into the dragon mount. And he stumbles upon a sleeping dragon guarding her eggs. It is the second unclean dragon silver ring. Ulf falls backwards and pretty much awaits death, but realizes that the dragon is not going to harm him. She bows to him and he laughs in relief. So leave it to Ulf to basically not put in any work. He just falls backwards and Silverwing's like, you smell good. You cool. And you have another dragon rider. So we actually end up cutting to the Green Council. This is where we end the episode. Aemond's hearing the reports of what's going on with Lord Ormond Hightowers. I believe that's his uncle and his army. They're making very slow progress, to come down from the north because they're threatened on two fronts by. Actually, they're coming from the south. They're threatened by two forces on both sides that are aligned with House Beesberries. Because remember, the Beesberries have an issue with Hightowers because Sir Kristen Cole, who serves the Hightowers, killed their Lord Beesbury. So there's beef all around. But there is good news for the Greens. Darren's dragon Tessarion can now fly. So Darren's going to be able to join the fight soon. So once that happens, that the Hightowers will be, essentially unstoppable. Outside, we hear bells are ringing. Ulf, while he is a new dragon rider, he does not know how to fly very well because he ends up all the way in King's Landing and he's trying to get a hang of his dragon, but it ends up causing the city to panic. Like you see like the scorpions being set out, and then Aemond's like, what the hell is going on? So he ends up leaving the keep. He mounts Vhagar and he's in fast pursuit of Silverwing. Somehow Ulf was able to get his dragon to go back to Dragonstone. And I know we had mentioned before that, Vhagar is not the problem. It's Aemond, her rider. But I feel like Vhagar is the problem. Like, I feel like she's partly responsible because she's not obeying Aemond. I mean, she does eventually, but he has to tell her, no, Vhagar, don't attack Vhagar. Flee, Vhagar, turn around. He had to put so much effort into getting her to turn around because they were getting too close to Dragonstone, which would have made them vulnerable. And Vhagar just has blood on her, blood in the air. She just wants to attack. So I think it's a bit of Aemond's being bloodthirsty, and I think that it's rubbed off on Vhagar because remember, supposedly last season when Luke died, it was an accident because Vhagar was a little bit too, I guess, enthusiastic. And here again, we see her wanting to attack rather than obey her master. So Vhagar might be the problem, y'all. But he ends up turning around, but he's spotted by Rhaenyra. And this scene was probably my favorite. This shot right here. You see Rhaenyra standing in front of the Dragonstone castle. We see Silverwing land on a tower. Syrax is behind her, just screaming, and then we have Vermithor behind them. So it's just this really cool shot of all her three dragons, right, standing behind her. And then we also remember that Baela has her dragon Moon Dancer, and then Jace has his dragon Vermax. So the squad is assembled and they're ready for blood. And that's how we end the episode. So thoughts for those final scenes?
That last shot, I was like, ooh, they showing off. That was fire. It was unbelievably fire. Like to see her.
Loved it.
Yeah, it was just amazing to see that whole image. And Rhaenyra was pissed. You could tell that she could see him. And it kind of brings you back, like you said, none of the wasted lines, nothing. It brings you back to that first episode where she was like, I want Aemond. And, and we see what Damon's plan was trying to do with it right now. And she looked like a mother scorn. She looked like she was like, now see, I told you, I tried to give you a little pass before because, we are related. I tried to let it go. But the fact that he came that close, and I do agree with you. I mean, the dragons, what is cool is you get to see the dragon's personality. So Vhagar is getting to be Echo, right? Like if you got somebody crazy like Aemond that doesn't really have a leash on what he does, that can just, that's going to propel her even more. Like if she's already on a tangent tearing up, he's not somebody that's going to pull you back.
Yeah.
So like you said, I can't even believe his little skinny self got her to turn when it was going straight. Like I couldn't believe, because he was like struggling to kind of get it to go. So I couldn't believe he got it going. But yeah, 100%. Like this, I agree with Jamie. This had to be like one of my like top episodes, even from last season, just to be able to see it come together and to really focus on like we came here for the dragons, to be able to see this get ready to go down. Like they're putting all the pieces in place. You get to see the team assembled. So yeah, it's gonna be real interesting going into that last episode.
Yeah, definitely. I'm with you, Jamie.
Yeah. This was top tier for me. I absolutely love this episode. Going back to a few scenes with Ulf and Silverwing, I just thought that was the most cute claim of, because I felt like Silverwing claimed Ulf. No, yeah, Silverwing did.
No, she definitely did.
Yeah, so
She's like,
this
you
was
mind?
yet another claim of a dragon to a human, because she was like, it was the most adorable thing, because she was like kind of poking her nose at him, and it was like the way a dog kind of just like,
We're
you know,
friends.
it was cute to me, more than anything else. So yeah, Ulf was very lucky, very lucky. Like, yeah, like you said, took no effort. He did absolutely nothing. His lineage and his bloodline basically saved his life.
Mhm.
And she took a liking to him. She took a liking. Yeah, Silverwing's a she, I believe.
Yes, she's a she dragon.
Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah. So she took a liking to him. So Ulf was lucky in that regard. But I just thought that was one of the cutest moments of a dragon claiming a human in that scene.
Yes.
Yeah, going back to the ending, that was just a bomb ass moment with Rhaenyra and those dragons, because that basically seals what we are going to see really probably in this season finale with the Dance of the Dragons and how it's going to be kicked off for season 3. Curious to see where they'll go with season 3, if we're going to extend it any further than that, or if they're going to end it there. But either way, I'm here for it. I love that we've got our dragon seeds. And I know you're going to get into the book part later, Angelica, but I do want to know, where are they going to go with the rest of the storyline of the dragon seeds, given that we have Nettles missing from this.
Seriously.
Oh, poor Nettles. Where's Nettles? Here you go, Nettles. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Because amongst these dragon seed characters, she is supposed to be among that group. But even so, I guess we've got Rhaena in the distance somewhere, with yet a dragon to claim.
Yes.
That's got a wild dragon in the area somewhere. So we'll see where that story goes. So yeah.
Yep. We shall see.
I know, right? A collective.
It's just I really hope he gets us with the okie doke. I really hope he's just
I know,
like, ha, fooled y'all. Here she is.
Yeah.
When it happens, let's just have a whole episode and give Angelica her moment. Okay, Angelica, have your moment when Nettles comes in here, okay?
You gotta understand, I wrote a whole piece about her. That's my girl. So I mean, express my heart.
Yeah, like yeah. You
all right, we
this thing to death. Yeah, let's keep it.
We've cried enough. We whinged enough, as they say. All right, so we'll save it for season 3. So I just want to touch on some differences for the book. So I had mentioned earlier, Jace's kind of disdain for the lowborn. In the book, he embraced the lowborn. He's the one that put out the call, right? That was his plan. So he was down with, Team Black and the lowborns. Matter of fact, Nettles was his girl. So I'll leave that alone. But he got along with everybody. He loved the dragon seed that ended up being chosen and claiming their own dragons. So let's hope we see Jace warm up to them as this season wraps up. Sir Stefan was not the only highborn person that tried to claim a dragon. Lord Gorman Massey, who's alive on the show, tried to ride Vermithor, and he was burned to death, but they spared him for the show. And then as far as the casualties, according to Maester Munkin, who's one of the sources in Fire and Blood, 16 men died during the sowing. 14 others were burned or maimed. So it was essentially a bloodbath. Sheepstealer was actually the one that killed the most, but Sheepstealer has not been introduced yet, and we're all theorizing that that's going to be Rhaena's dragon. Hopefully she ends up with Morning. And Alan also tried to ride Sheepstealer unsuccessfully, but at least his life was spared. So that's just some fun facts about the sowing. And, look forward to next week. I did want to touch on the trailer because I saw that Aemond had ordered Helena to ride her dragon, Dreamfire.
Yeah.
And we have yet to really see Dreamfire. We've yet to even see Helena ride her dragon. So I'm like, oh, the one green that I love, don't put her outside like that. Don't put her out on those streets. She's not ready. She's not prepared. So anyways, that's where I'm gonna leave this this episode. I'm just gonna go cry into my pillow because we haven't seen Nettles yet, and hope for the best for the finale.
Yep. Yeah, you guys let us know what you think. You know, put a little tear in our comments if you crying out for Nettles. You know, but yeah, I like that scene that you pointed out. I definitely saw that with Daemon and Helena. So I'm like, what is he doing? And what team are you on? What is going on? If that was Daemon like talking, I'm like, what?
Oh no, Aemond. That was Aemond.
It was Aemond. It was Aemond.
Yeah.
Okay, I was about to say, what team is he on? Really, Jesus.
Oh no.
So, but yeah, we'll see what is going down with the brother sister combo. We'll see if he gets a little help with that. But I don't know. I'm still putting my money on Team Black. So you guys let us know what team you're going into. We got the crew assembled. We got the dragons ready. I mean, you know, maybe Ulf learned to run his dragon the right direction. We're going to see what's going down. You see if he figures it out. But you guys let us know. #dragons, y'all. And it's the finale coming up. We're going to be live again. You know, so look out. Wait for us. Send us your questions, your comments. Appreciate everybody that was chiming in tonight. That's live with us on Twitter. All the good stuff. But yeah, ladies, anything else as we wrap it up? Is that it?
Nope. I'm good.
No, thanks for joining us. Also, we're on not only just Twitter, we're also on Threads. We got to show our Threads people love.
Shout out to Threads.
Yes, shout out to Threads. Dragons, y'all is the hashtag. Join us on both platforms. Also, and if you haven't already, like, subscribe this video if you haven't done so. And yeah, we'll see you next week. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.